Hello, friends. We are in the MOOCs YM course on Nationalism and Constitutional Growth in India, 1858 to 1920. We have discussed about various aspects of nationalism, and because we are in the course called Nationalism and Constitutional Growth, it is important to understand the very conception of nationalism. We are trying to understand through various leaders like Firoz Shah Mehta to Bal Gangadhar Tilak to Mahatma Gandhi to Nehru. Uh, Nehru comes later after 1920, but yet we are trying to understand the nationalist thinking of Nehru, Ambedkar also, so that we'll be able to see some of the developments which are happening, say in by 1920 till 1920, from 1958. That how that entire nationalist imagination is playing a very crucial role in uniting India, unifying India. And what is the ideology? What is the content of Indian National Congress? That what they are envisioning India as. That we are trying to understand through the various, icons, leaders like Gandhi, like Tagore, like Maulana Azad, and Maulana Madani. But also, we'll be, dealing with the questions of cultural nationalism, that how RSS and Sangh Parivar especially has seen India as one entity, and how they have defined nationalism, and what is cultural nationalism. uh, the leaders like Savarkar, Golwalkar, or Deen Dayal Upadhyay, and many others understood the idea of nationalism. We will try to bring all these packages in one frame, so that when you are studying nationalism, and when you are seeing those events, then you will be able to kind of acquaint yourself with those nitty and gritties, and then you will be trying to unravel those complexities in a very easy manner, so that when you are completing this course, you will be able to have a very refreshing kind of political imagination of the past, but also the present and future. So, as we are in the series of lectures trying to understand different aspects, and particularly the theoretical aspects of nationalism, we are in the contemporary form. In the last lecture, I discussed about some of these scholars, and particularly two brilliant scholars like Zygmunt Bauman, who tries to understand that there is constant mobility and constant change which is happening because of the advent of globalization, because of the sharing of thought and resources, because of the information and communication technology, because of the constant mobility. People are sharing their thought and resources. They are able to change the very narratives which are established and given us as a package. Ideology is this is the only explanation which is available to us. Rather, people are now critiquing, and people are now adding on those loopholes, those identities which have come to the fore by demanding for greater rights for them. Various kinds of social movements which have come to critique those ideas and ideologies which subjugated them and made them impoverished. all those things were discussed, during the discussion on Zygmunt Bauman's idea of post-modernity and self-reflection, and how this particular, you know, coming of the unheard voices and marginalized sections and the unknowns and uncertainties into the very scope of modernity project and also postmodern condition, then the very discourse on nationalism becomes very lively, and it becomes ever challenging and also very complex kind of discussion. So the very introduction of liquid modernity by Zygmunt Bauman to some extent gives a very kind of beautiful kind of picture of the world in much more understandable manner. Also, one of the scholar called Partha Chatterjee, which we discuss his work, especially one where Partha Chatterjee says that nationalist thought in a colonial world, which was published in 1986, was a derivative discourse. Now, the derivative discourse does not only mean that it is a derivation of the original idea, but the very derivative can in fact be incorporated by bringing the content of the ideology or the discourse called on nationalism in much more vibrant manner. So so those things that what Chatterjee discusses in his book, we brought it in the last lecture to understand that what his contentions are, the how he is bringing the very problematic and thematic into the discussion of uh, you know idea of nationalism. So let us now embark on yet another very important discussion on not only understanding the relationship between various groups and communities, but also gender, right? The very discourse of gender has been seen in terms of binaries, and particularly the ideology called nationalism has been, playing a havoc on, particularly one gender called women, who are always at the receiving end because in the name of nationalism, the war has taken place and women face the brunt of war. In the name of nationalism, communal riots have taken place and women face the brunt of communal riots. In the name of nationalism, two nations fight against each other. In the bordering area, again, women face the brunt of those, bilateral wars and various kinds of civil wars, which have taken millions of lives on this planet because of the certain kind of superiority in the name of nationalism, in the name of nation, in the name of being unique and superior. And these things, in a way, need to be brought into the discussion to enrich ourselves, to understand in more vibrant fashion the discussion on nationalism. And as I have brought in front of you one of the scholar called Nira Yuval Davis and Floya Athias, who have highlighted that women have been overlooked into discourse of nationalism and national movements. And in fact, women are relegated. So it's a very normal, normalized kind of patriarchy to some extent, that women are supposed to be in the household and men are supposed to fight for the cause of the nation. Women are the real, protector of the nation. So men are in the army, men are in the government, men are going to be flag bearers of the nationalist movement, and women are only, biological producers, right? And and these kind of very pejorative and very negative kind of connotations attached with women has been playing havoc in terms of disempowerment of women, generation after generation, and that is rooted into the ideology which is called male dominance or patriarchy. And it is very much visible in even discourse on Indian nationalism, where women are given, a very small paragraph placed into, discussion, where all the main leaders, especially like Gandhi, Nehru, Ambedkar, Bhagat Singh, and these people are figuring into the discussion. But women have played a very significant role in kind of in the formation of states and formation of nations, and they have played kind of very positive role. Rather, their contributions is immense, because they, their idea of nation would be more peace oriented. Their idea of nation would be more based on harmony, and unity, rather than short tempered men who would always go for pride and honor, and that would be rather the driving force for them. So so women are seen as biological producer, boundary reproducers, transmitter of cultures, representatives of differences, and direct participants in nationalist struggle by these scholars. So these scholars like Anthias and Davis, they evaluate that there is some kind of shared evaluation among these scholars, that gender, sexuality, and nationalism are socially and culturally constructed. So the very idea of nation and nationalism are in fact socially constructed, as the very understanding of that women are supposed to be this or women are supposed to be that, right? And these things are not natural. These are basically socially constructed. I mean, gendered roles are socially constructed phenomena. So, in that sense, nationalism by these scholars are also interpreted as a socially and culturally constructed phenomena. So, the scholars of gender and nationalism argue that gender configuration are always intimately related to and impact the development of nationalism. Because ultimately, I mean, you just imagine, almost all the pictures, all the, many of the nations are basically adhered to, motherland, the motherland, Bharat, Mata, for an example. And this echoes not only in our part of the world, but this echoes everywhere. Motherland, right? And then we have to sacrifice ourselves as mother. So mother, this is a honor, the very idea of honor. If if one country attacks on the other country, the very question of this attacking is seen as attack on the pride and honor, and women are always seen as the symbol of honor for male folks, and hence, the very attack is in a way interpreted in terms of like, that is in some way that one has taken the honor, right? And that's like, it's a assault of a kind, which is assault on the mother or the sister or their women, right? So something is attached, so the very definition or the very idea of nationalism is kind of, revolving on the question of women, and which is intimately connected. Also, if we talk about, say, Nira Yuval Davis, further kind of, discussion where she argues that the construction of nationhood usually involve specific notions of both manhood and womanhood, although their explicit inclusion in the analytical discourse around nations and nationalism is only a very recent endeavor. Uh, Also, Davis promotes this analytical project by examining systematically the crucial contribution of gender relations into several major dimensions of nationalist projects: national production, national culture, citizenship and national politics, national conflicts and national war or wars. Davis sharply differentiates national projects from nation states, and she emphasizes that membership of nations can be sub or super or and cross states, right? So it's like, it's like all over, right? The very discussion, in a way, revolves around the question of nationhood and the women question. So, in that sense, gender and nationalism, uh, yet again, is a very, very important contribution by these scholars. Also, there's a scholar called Michael Bilek. It's a beautiful work. The book is called Banal Nationalism, which was published in 1995, and it is in a way that in contemporary times, particularly with the advent of social media and social media networks, or YouTube channels and many other kinds of, networking sites, we can relate this banal nationalism kind of thing which is going on in our part of the world and elsewhere as well, where Billig says that this banal nationalism emphasizes everyday reminders of national identity, right? You keep, things in your pocket, right? Like, currency notes or flags, for an example. You keep flags on the top of your house, but also on your study table, and sometimes, right, in your other vehicles, right? And you put it as a badge of honor, but also as a marker that that shows certain kind of your nationalistic spirit. All kind of national symbols you you see while walking, flags and symbols and other things, which keeps reminding you about your national identity, that what you are, what you should be. You have a kind of allegiances to show. In that sense, politicians, they keep using these terms like we, and of course we and they. and all kind of media program titles. If you see prime time news, in prime time anchors, that how they kind of bring into those kind of questions to keep reminding you that who belongs to the nation and who do not belongs to the nation, and hence who is threat to the nation and who is protecting the nation. All kind of these political gimmicks are played is a banal nationalism. The nationalism becomes banal. It becomes kind of normalized, but it is also acted every day. So that you should be reminded about your national identity. So Billig argued that these mundane expressions, often we do not take into account, but these mundane expressions play a crucial role in shaping and reinforcing our national identity. So, for an example, sports, for example, if you are watching, World Cup, right? So you are definitely going to be appreciative of any player from any team playing good. You are going to appreciate, but if you do it vis-a-vis your national players or your national team, right, and praising the other players of the other team who have defeated your team, then you will be seen as anti-national. You are not going to be, loyal to the nation. Your allegiances are now under question. That how can you, appreciate the player of the different team, and hence, that reminders of national identity through sports, through various other kind of symbols, is in fact that what Billig argues is banal nationalism. And this book, which is titled is banal nationalism. So Billig presents a major challenge to orthodox conception of nationalism. While traditional, theorizing has focused on extreme expression of nationalism, this making it exotic and remote concern. Billig, turns his attention to the everyday, and which is so less visible. The kind of forms of manifestation that are deeply ingrained in contemporary consciousness. We do it. It is just natural, right? When 15th August or 26th of January, which is celebrated in our part of the world, in our country, is Independence Day and Republic Day, respectively. It's very natural to keep flag in our hand. I mean, it's no one is going to remind us. Rather, it is ingrained into our consciousness. So, what Billig says that banal nationalism asks why people do not forget their national identity, and it contends that nationalism is constantly flagged in the media through routine symbols and habits of language. In a well thought out analysis like this book, it shows how assumptions of nationhood are regularly conveyed, often through small familiar turns of phrase, and how these reminders operate mindlessly beyond the level of conscious awareness, like the flag, which hangs unnoticed outside a public building. Banal nationalism addresses these core features of nationalism while providing the reader with the meaningful insights into their own nationality. So, banal nationalism stresses the taken for grantedness of nationalism, which translates into a largely unnoticed, unseen, and unremarked upon nationalism. Moving further, if we can see, which I have already highlighted, this historical overview that how academic research comes into the picture, this intra-communal movements and the typology of nationalism, then nation building and modernization after the and during the decolonization movement, and especially in the post collapse of Soviet Union, how this postmodern expansion of the subject or women's role in nationalist movements in a way contributed to and enriched our discussion. There's another scholar called Craig Calhoun, whose perspective is that nationalism, is something where researchers have been trying to address this question, where the researchers they approach to nationalism very diversely, with the idea of the national integral to various aspects of understanding the world. So nationalist discourse can be partially autonomous from specific instances, and structural factors may create conditions for its use. Now, if we classify nationalism theories, scholars have been classifying nationalism theories into either essentialist and constructivist approach based on different perspectives on the birth and development of nationalism. Now, there are scholars minded, while of course I'm not going to discuss all the scholars. Rather, I am being very choosy and picky to pick and choose which may be according to you arbitrary, but these are just the samples of the scholarship which I am discussing. So scholars such as Eric Hobsbawm, Colton Hayes, Hans Kohn, Eli Keduri, John Hassison, Ernest Gellner, which we discussed definitely, Caldwish, Walker Connor, Anthony Dismith, and of course Benedict Anderson. They led the foundation of nationalism studies in the post-war period, particularly post 1945. So, as we discussed that, two classification, essentialist and constructivist. What is the essentialist approach? Essentialist approach is basically that they, the idea of nation is rather not a socially constructed idea. It is a very natural kind of tendency. It's part of the natural structures, which has an unchanging essence. It's primordial. It is rooted in myth, symbols, and traditions. And also within that essentialist approach, there are people who are called ethno-symbolist perspective, who actually talk about that ethnic communities forms the basis of nation, and their essence is preserved through myths, symbols, and traditions. So, what is primordialism? Primordialism is the idea that nations or ethnic identities are fixed, natural, and ancient. Primordialists argue that each individual has a single inborn ethnic identity independent of historical processes. Like, people like Johann Gottlieb Fichte, which we discussed definitely in the previous lecture, Gottfried Herder, Edward Shields and Clifford Gates. All these people come under the banner of essentialist approach. And then what is constructivist approach? So constructivist approach talks about, of course, the nationalism is in response to the historical and various other developments, and especially during the advent of capitalism, nationalist movements started emerging, and hence the very idea of nationalism came into the discussion. Also, there is socio-political understanding where John Broley defines the birth of nations and nationalism under the modern state, emphasizes the relationship of the modern state with society as integrative nationalism. So Tom Dan's book, The Breakup of Britain, 1977, which was revised in 1982, is the best known book on nationalism theme. It's a Marxist critique of the nationalism, where Tom Dan, does argue that this nationalism, in fact, inspires populism, which I have actually talked about. And there's another book by John Broley who talks about socio-political perspective. It's called Nationalism in the State, which was published in 1994. Where Brulé argues that the nationalism should be understood as a form of politics that arises in opposition to the modern state. I'll stop here, and we will be discussing about various other manifestation of nationalism in the Indian context by the Indian scholars, and particularly Gandhi and Tagore comes into our mind. We will deal with those leaders in addition to various other manifestation and theorization of nationalism in Indian context in the various other lectures. Thank you very much.